Amid the India-Pakistan war-like tensions related to Operation Sindoor, we have found that the IMF has cleared a $1 billion, around 8,500 crores of disbursement on immediate effect to Pakistan. Now, this came with a very bitter thing for India because it's like funding the terrorist organizations which are located in that country. So it's an indirect way we felt that the funding was done for the purpose of terrorism and for the purpose of giving more war amenities and facilities to Pakistan. But is it really so that IMF has dispersed this particular fund for that purpose, or what exactly has happened? We are going to see certain points connected to the IMF in this video. So basically, they have mentioned that 7 billion of dollars worth of funding was already approved in the month of 25th of September 2024 to Pakistan for certain purposes which were not specific to anything connected to military operations. So this disbursement, one of which was made in the month of May 2025, which was due in that particular month. Of course, India did not dissent. I mean, India did not consent. India showed its dissent for this disbursement. It did not participate in the voting of IMF in that case. So basically, now what is this particular organization, IMF, International Monetary Fund? What is it exactly? How does it operate? Then who decides the voting powers, and on what grounds are these loans sanctioned? Right, this is something of interest to us. Then, what is this EFF, which was sanctioned to Pakistan, and why was it sanctions amid war-like situations? So, these are the questions that we are going to answer today in this particular video and connected to Commerce GYAN. So, we are going to understand things revolving around the IMF, how things are sanctioned in the IMF, and whether it was valid reason of why Pakistan is being funded by the IMF. And what are the basis of decision making in the IMF for the purpose of funding to a particular country? What is the position of India in the International Monetary Fund? So all these questions we are going to answer in this particular video of Commerce GYAN. So stay tuned till the end of the video to understand everything in depth. So the first thing we're going to understand is what is this IMF, International Monetary Fund? So basically, this is an organization which is founded by certain countries. So now currently it has members of around 191 countries who govern this fund, and also they have their voting rights in the organization. So if we see in the general case, we have things like chit funds, local language they call it as bishis. So many places we find that people come together, they gather in funding. So basically they will put a collective amount to a particular fund, and whenever one of the person of this organization, or you can say the body of people who is there contributing to that fund, is in need of money, then from this particular fund an amount is sanctioned. So like out of 10 people who have contributed to the fund, one person has some marriage at home, so they need the fund. So what they do, they put money from that fund towards that particular person for a limited time frame. So he may have to return it back, or particularly if they have already contributed extra to that fund, then they may not have to return it back. So this is how on a very unorganized scale things operate. In the case of International Monetary Fund also, this same procedure is done on a very organized formatting. So what they do basically, mainly this is done now, this fund collection, fund disbursement, everything, why it is done, it is done with the purpose of increasing productivity of a particular country, job creation and economic well-being of that particular country. So if they feel that a member country of the IMF is in need of funds for these purposes like job creation, economic facing some economic difficulties, health concerns, many times it may be natural calamities, economic collapse. So all these things could be the reasons why the IMF will intervene and think of giving the funds. Now, when you're talking of contribution to the IMF, every member country has their quota. So it's called as a quota. Quota is basically the amount that they will be contributing to the International Monetary Fund, and based on the quota, they make the contribution. So if your quota is a certain percentage, you will have to make a certain amount of contribution before joining the IMF. Also, your voting rights, that means the member country's voting rights will be in the same percentile as your quota. Then from these contributions, whatever the funds have been put into the International Monetary Fund, the IMF will lend money to member countries whoever are in need. Just as I explained the case of chip funds, this is the same way it operates on a very organized and large scale format. Then factors which decide the quota. What are the factors? That means on what basis do the member countries have this particular quota decided? Like why is USA having the highest quota? Why is India having 2 point something as a quota? So this will be certain factors which are the decisive factors for this particular quota. And first factor is the GDP of the country. What is the GDP of a particular country will be the deciding factor. Then GDP, basically the gross domestic product of that country. Then economic variability, economic viability, both will be considered for the purpose of this quota. Then openness to trade. So how far are you globalized? How open are you to trade? Are you having a good welcoming kind of a gesture when you're talking about trade in your country? So are you having an open economy? This is very important for the IMF. Then international reserves. What are your reserves in the international market? So are you having good reserves to fund, you can say, your activities, your manufacturing sector, your service sector, your overall economy? All this will be seen. Also, what are your savings in the format of international reserves? Then comes the contributors to IMF. Let's see the top four contributors to the IMF, or the top four members who are the largest contributors to the IMF. The first, of course, is the USA with a 17.42% share, which is a huge share in the IMF. Then comes Japan, which is at 6.47%. Then China at 6.40%, and then comes Germany at 5.59%. Now, you would be wondering, what is the quota or the share of India and other countries which are of interest currently to the IMF? So, India basically has 2.75% of contributions or a quota in the IMF, and Pakistan, on the other hand, is having 0.43%. So, the India's contribution is 2.75% in the entire IMF funding. What does the IMF do basically? Now we need to understand why this particular IMF is founded. Of course, we have seen a certain glimpse of what the IMF does, but let's see the first thing: policy advice. Now, when a country is in need, it may not be just in need of funds, it can also be in need of advice. So it could be like certain countries are not doing well on the economic front. Then what is going wrong? What kind of policies can be restructured, can be redesigned, can be developed for the purpose of betterment of trade, finances, and having a good economy? This is what is the policy advice that the IMF will do. Now, IMF consists of all member countries plus not just their representatives, but they also have staff who is of the top economists and who are the top economists from different countries. And these people are in a position to give the member countries the advice that they may need for the purpose of policy framing in their own country. So this is one of the important roles of the IMF. Second, the IMF does is financial assistance. So you may find that loans are required, grants are required in certain cases. So not just loans are given which will be repaid back by the member country, but certain times like natural calamities, disasters, and where the repayment may not be possible, even grants can be given by the International Monetary Fund. Then finally, we have the capacity development. So you may find that certain countries may lack the capacity to build their economy. Infrastructure may be lacking. Then they may find that it is difficult to have good manpower in their country. So they may even collaborate with other member countries where good manpower facilitation can be done to the country which is in need. So this kind of capacity building can be done by the IMF. So it's a very this is something which is very important for the purpose of economic development, because capacity building, capacity development is necessary for the purpose of further economic improvisation. Now let's see what is the EFF, Extended Fund Facility, which was given to Pakistan, where it is kind of a controversial thing which has happened in the war-like situation, which nobody had liked the amount being disbursed to Pakistan in that particular situation. So Extended Fund Facility was given. What is this? It is basically again a financial assistance which is given for medium-term balance of payment problems. So Pakistan has claimed that obviously they are in a bad position where their costs are exceeding their revenues. So revenues, the amounts that they're earning are not sufficient enough to cover up their costs. So in such a case, obviously there will be some kind of deficit which they're facing every now and then. And to facilitate this deficit, to keep them going. They need funds from the IMF for a short time period. Now, basically, problem of structural weakness is also seen in Pakistan currently. So they don't have the proper governance. They don't have the government which is stable. Military is behaving in a ill-mannered, in ill-fashioned way. Then they also find that there is a kind of unemployment, and people are not in a position. Quality manpower is not available. There is a problem of imbalance in the workforce. So all these things are a problem of structural weakness in that country. Geopolitical tensions are there ongoing, and then they basically find that this particular EFF is not something which is taken away by Pakistan. They have to repay it back. It needs to be paid back within a certain period, and this period is a little extended. So that's why it's called as extended fund facility. So funds are given to this country. So it may be Pakistan this time, it could be another country some other time, where EFFs are granted, extra period time period is given for the purpose of repayment, and that's why it's called as extended fund facility. Now, another thing is why it was given. Few more things which we find here is they claim that there is a weak economy, which obviously everybody knows right now. They don't have a very strong economy right now. Stagnant GDP is there. Inflation has soared. So a commodity which was available for 100 rupees earlier, maybe 2 3 years back, is now available to a double cost, like 200 rupees for the same commodity. So inflation is definitely soaring there, and gross economic management obviously is there, and finally bad infrastructure, poor workforce balance. So all these things are contributing to a poor economic position of Pakistan, and for that purpose to uh, uplift them, this is basically what is the ideology behind giving the funds to Pakistan, for upliftment of their economy and balancing of their payments which they have to make. Then comes the understanding is basically, even though they are having such a bad economic position since a long time, why still more and more funds being given? So IMF says that no, there is some improvisation, and they're trying to reduce their overall borrowing in the other countries. So they're not just borrowing from IMF, they're also borrowing from other countries. And currently Pakistan is trying to reduce their borrowings from other countries. This is what IMF has made in a study. Secondly, they found that they're going towards measures that can reduce inflation. So some economic building and some job creation and some kind of betterment of their economy is being taken up, and hence they are actually trying their best to go for economic betterment. Then improvement in foreign exchange reserves is seen in the past, which was expected. And also they're trying to improve agriculture. The agro-based economy is being developed in the country. And so for overall, we can say that the IMF has taken these factors into consideration before they granted the EFF in September 2024. Now, why it was granted is definitely not for terrorism and definitely not for the purpose of defense measures. It's more about the health measures and other such facilities. But of course, internally, how they're using, whether they're using for the same purpose, this also will be always a question mark. Now, if you have to see India's position in the IMF, we know that India has 2.75% of quota in the IMF. But you will be interested to know that, you will be happy to know that we had just borrowed from the IMF in the years of 91, 92, 93, somewhere where we were in a huge crisis, economic crisis, where the Indian economy was opened up in 1991 for globalization. So at that point of time, we were in need of funds and we got them from the International Monetary Fund. Currently, but the best part is that currently there are no pending loans on India from the IMF. So these loans were cleared up in the year 2000 itself. So year 2000 onwards, there are no borrowings from the International Monetary Fund. If you want more information on the IMF, you can go directly to their website, which I've put here in this particular video. It's www.imf.org. You can get a lot of information about International Monetary Fund, and it's very interesting to study this particular organization, how it's structured, what it does, and what countries are the members, how they're using the facility of IMF, and so on. So hopefully this video has given you a little bit insight into the International Monetary Fund and how sanctions are done, how quotas are fixed in the International Monetary Fund's case. So it gives you an overall idea, a better picture of this particular IMF, which is being discussed all through in the press, in the news all the time. IMF is the word, I mean the short form of this particular organization, IMF. We continuously keep hearing in the news. So definitely this video can help you understand a little bit of the functioning and how it operates and why it gives funds to certain countries. So hope this video will help you in enhancing your knowledge of commerce, and definitely we are going to make more and more such videos ahead also, for your understanding for certain terms of commerce, economics, what are the changes that are happening overall in the industries, in investment patterns and legal aspects of certain things, certain cases which are in the news. So just in case you have not subscribed to Commerce Gyan, do subscribe to this channel to get more such information ahead also. So hope to see you in the next video of Commerce Gyan. Thank you.